Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. It's Friday and the international break is over. Ahead of the Game Week 8 deadline tomorrow morning, you've got an hour, hopefully, of me and Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, how are you, mate?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I'm good. What a rubbish international break that was. What a waste of time. Nobody wanted it, and even more so once it actually begun. Like, apart from England getting a new manager, nothing happened.
We'll talk a little bit about that today, I think.
Enjoy that, mate.
We should chat a little bit about Tuchel, shouldn't we?
Yeah, but mate, so excited to have club football back. I'm really getting annoyed with that we can't get into this proper rhythm, but at least it makes us appreciate the club football every time it does make a return. We'll get underway with Tottenham against West Ham, obviously, this weekend. It throws up a little bit of a dilemma, to be honest, for me, that game, because I am tempted to go for a third Tottenham asset. I've already got Porro. I've already got Solanke. A part of me wants Brennan Johnson just because he's so hot right now.
Shooting on sight, and he just shoots.
Yeah, but it's the early kickoff, and you're like, if you've got three assets in the first week back that don't get points on the board for you, it's so deflating, and it does impact your weekend. Like, as sad as it sounds, it does impact your weekend.
Nah, you're one of us now, mate. You're one of us now. You've said
it. Yeah. So we'll see. I'm definitely tempted to bring in Johnson for Eze, but we'll have to see whether I actually do it.
Mark makes a really good point in the chat. I was just about to say, before I read Mark's comment, one of my best mates, who's getting married on Monday, who's going to his wedding, which might affect my availability for CJ on Monday. We'll talk about that later.
Admin
definitely affects my availability. He texted me this morning being like, because I was like, I'm going to buy, he's big into FPL, I'm going to buy Spurs players. And his words were, buy Spurs players. He's a former Spurs season ticket holder, but he was like, West Ham always turn up against us. It's their big game. And Mark's just said the same in the chat. West Ham always raise the game against Spurs. I predict 2-2. And off the back of scoring 4 against Ipswich, West Ham will have a bit of confidence. Hello to everyone joining for some for the first time and some that have just watched Holly for hours from Holly Shan's channel. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Holly's raided us, which is lovely to see. If you are just tuning in for the first time, we welcome you, and we hope that in the next 10, 20, or even 60 minutes, depending on how long you watch for, we hope to convince you that CGA can be your second home of FPL after the Holly Shand FPL channel. So hopefully you enjoy what you see. Big Man Backer is joining us in the next 5 minutes or so as well. He is one of our regulars. Me, Dean, Big Man stream all week long, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. So loads of reasons to like and subscribe if you're new around here and you want to show support. Holly's just raised, Dean, over 800 quid for Cancer Research UK.
Wow.
She's streaming since 9 a.m. She's done a 5-hour stream marathon and raised over 800 quid in the process.
On her own?
On her own.
She sat there for 5 hours on her own.
I was meant to join her for an hour, but my dad was around a night to take Gaia out, so we went to the farm instead. So yeah, Holly literally was depending on me for a little bit of a break, and I had to let her down, and she did 5 hours by herself.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, all press conference stuff, but still, because the press conferences started at 9 a.m.
That is very impressive. Well done, Holly, for doing that. Hello, big man. How you doing, mate?
Hi, Dean. Good morning to you. Good afternoon to you, Johnny, and hello, welcome to all the listeners and viewers. Any latest news that you guys have talked about or are going to discuss?
We were just saying what a good asset Bruno Fernandes is, mate. So I don't know if
Of course he is. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll be discussing this in 6 weeks' time once he gets a very good, handsome number of points against the fixtures that he has coming up. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be keeping him for 6 weeks, irrespective if he doesn't get injured, if he doesn't get carded. So it's going to be a fun ride. I'm looking forward to it.
What is his ownership? Do you know?
It is close. It is below 1% at my rank. That's all I checked. But overall, it must be higher. I think because
is he really bad?
He's 6.8%. But like I'm sure a lot of them are inactive teams.
Yeah, that's true. It will be. That is mad.
What did he start the season as? Does anyone know? Was he like 30%? 25?
Must have been 30.
I would suspect somewhere close to 20, 25 minimum. Yeah. There were plenty of people who had him, I remember. Because if you look at his transfers out, I mean, he's been transferred out by millions of managers every week.
And there's only 10 million in the game, so that was great. Poor big man. He can't go on a stream, go on Twitter. He can't do anything without being asked about Bruno in the first couple of minutes.
Sorry, mate.
Well, that's fine. I'm used to it by now.
I know, but mate, that feeling's going to be when that ball hits the back of the net for the first time from him.
I hope it hits the back of the opposition's net, not his own net.
You never know these days.
because looking at how things have been going, I mean, a red card is looking more likely than an attacking return, but it is what it is.
Or a missed penalty. You're going to get a missed penalty. You're finally going to get a Bruno penalty, and he's going to bloody miss it.
Penalty. I sky it because my keeper's Fleckin. He won't get the save points either, so that's going to be worse.
I love that you've even thought about that. The fact
I have.
Ugh.
It just shows the pain that I've been going through since owning Bruno Fernandes.
Oh mate, don't worry about it. Think positive. It's a fresh start after an international break. Thanks everyone that's joining us in the chat already. Thanks for the questions that are flying in. We're definitely going to try and get across as many as we can today. A few dilemmas in terms of what's the best fixture, do you think, lads, for this weekend? Like, what is the one to target if you could?
Big man, you'll know the goal scoring odds. What team's projected to score the most goals? I guess it's Man City, is it? It's
just Man City, but Spurs are very close. I actually back Spurs more this week. And the fun part is that everyone owns Haaland. But when it comes to Spurs, not a lot of people have Porro, Solanke, Son. So I think Spurs is the way to go if you're looking to gain rank this week, because that's where the effective ownership is going to be in your favor.
Yeah, it's a little bit worrying though. Tadebo's actually playing quite well now for West Ham. Like they are improved, West Ham. Like I know it was Ipswich last time out, and it's like not a great marker for how good you actually are. But they were much better. They still conceded, I guess. Delap still scored, but West Ham definitely a bit better.
He's a good centre back, and Dean. You'll know about Tadebo, unlike most of us. But when West Ham signed him, they beat off some serious competition, didn't they?
Yeah, it was a big signing. It was a massive surprise that he hasn't played more than he already has this season. Lopetegui didn't think he was ready for the Premier League and be up to speed with it. And after his first display in the Carabao Cup, he was probably right because Tadebo was terrible. But that's a big signing for them. And the last two appearances that Tadebo's made for West Ham have actually been very impressive. But this is a Tottenham team they're confident going forward for at least 45 minutes in the game, so we should see them score. Cruz says, if Son plays, who will get dropped? I mean, Timo Werner does not see another start while Sonny's back around.
Yeah, well said. Guys, hello to everyone in the chat. I don't think we've had the Holly raid just yet. I think she's still streaming, so that is coming.
You can do 5.5 hours.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so we'll talk about Holly and the raid in a sec. Someone said it was a Holly raid earlier when it wasn't, so I did the big up. Good to see FPL Guna in the chat. FPL Guna, we were actually talking about you in the last stream because Dean was talking about his son's expensive fees to play football in the US. But we'll pick that up another time.
Yeah.
Holly's waiting for Emery, apparently. Oh, she's such a pro. She's such a pro. The only press conference we haven't had is Emery, who was scheduled 8 minutes ago. And Holly is waiting to be able to react to the back of that, even though there's no big news expected from Emery. There's a few Watkins and Rodgers owners out there, but there's been no rumours that they're injured. Amazing. She's been streaming for 5 hours and still going. Let's just keep our attention then. In today's show, we are going to do team reveals. We're going to do against the obvious. That's always fun if you've not seen that before. But let's just keep our attention on Spurs, because Dean, you said at the top of the show before Big Man joined, you're considering a third Spurs asset.
Yeah.
Big Man wildcarded in 6 like me. I went no Spurs. Big Man went double Spurs. So Big Man, what's your take on Spurs? And are you likely to get the triple up this week or next week?
So basically, I went with double Spurs wildcard in game week 6 because I was prepping for their fixture run from now on in, which says West Ham at home, Palace away, Villa at home, and Ipswich at home in the next 4 fixtures. That's as good as it gets, basically. So I'm very comfortable owning both, and I think they're going to be very crucial if I'm to rise up the ranks in the weeks to come. Personally, I'm also considering Son, but that is contingent on what we hear on Saka. I trust Arteta with what he said. He said that he expects Saka to be fine. I mean, he's basically been more hopeful than we expected him to, but I still don't exactly believe him. So I'm going to wait for any training pictures, any leaks that he's traveled tomorrow before deciding. And if I don't feel confident about a Saka start, then I'll sell him for Son.
Yeah, the injury wasn't that bad. Like when he came off, he obviously was limping and he was holding it a bit. But like, even when he came off, I was like, oh, that's annoying. Just could have put doubt in the mind, but it wasn't terrible. So yeah, similarly, I will look to make checks. I've got a friend that works at Arsenal who should hopefully have seen him in the last day. So I'm going to try and get a heads up from him as to whether he thinks he's playing. But I'd imagine he probably is. Like we've seen so many times that Saka's flagged and he still plays anyway. So yeah, I think that Saka will play. I think Havertz will play as well. And I'm actually quite jealous. In the Chasing Green Arrows WhatsApp group, somebody this morning asked me about the idea of going Saka to Foden and or Havertz to Solanke. And I was like, I don't think I'd do either of those. Not for this week. Like if I've got a reasonable level of optimism that Saka and Havertz are starting, then I'm almost jealous of not having that partnership. I think Havertz has been great.
Yeah, I think Havertz in a straight shootout with Solanke this week. I'm pro Havertz, but if he's nailed to start, there's a lot out there, content creators though, Dean, that would much prefer Solanke over Havertz this week. So you and I think, might buck the trend. Big man, what's your take? In a straight shootout, if Havertz is starting and Solanke's starting, who do you prefer this week?
I prefer Solanke for sure. Firstly, I have more confidence in his minutes. Secondly, I think the fixture is better. He's playing at home. And long term, I would want Solanke anyway. So that's why I prefer Solanke.
I do get that part of the argument.
Maybe just for this week. And it's just that it's a very close call between them this week. So a lot of people who are looking at making that transfer next week might as well make it this week. I mean, in these kind of 50-50 situations, I generally tend to look at the odds. And Solanke's odds are actually better than Havertz's to score anytime this week.
Are they really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised
Solanke's second after Haaland.
I mean, the bookies
Solanke's second after
right.
Haaland. Solanke's second after Haaland for probability to score anytime this week.
I don't like that. I mean, I very rarely disagree with bookies' odds, but people make a lot of money gambling because the bookies aren't always right. And I've just been reading a book about it actually on holiday. This XG Philosophy second book about how you can back against the bookies and win big, and hence pro gamblers. The owner of Brentford Football Club, for example, a former pro gambler, big into analytics. By the way, guys, go and buy that book. Any football fan will love it. XG Philosophy on Twitter. It's their new book. And yeah, I think they got that wrong. Dean, like Havertz, Arsenal, Bournemouth have a go. I know he's away from home, but surely they have far more reliable attack than Spurs
Way more.
in the London derby.
Like, I was toying with, like, I wasn't actually going to wildcard, but I, like, the other night was just like, if I was to wildcard, like, what would I want? What would I do with my team? And I, like, kind of reset it all and just started picking a team. And I was like, who would I really want? And I kept coming back to Havertz. I kept wanting Havertz in that lineup. It's really hard to do. Because of obviously the price that he's at, and you've basically got to drop out another premium midfielder. But I'm not as put off by Arsenal's fixtures for Kai Havertz as some other people might be. I mean, okay, Liverpool at home is not a great fixture, but it's not the end of the world. They're still at home, and then they've got Newcastle, Chelsea. They're going to score against those teams. They're going to beat those teams. Forest, West Ham after that, Man United. Like, don't see any reason to show too much concern about Havertz. And what we've seen from Solanke so far, it's more that he's just going to like try to eat up chances, like old school style, like follow-ups, tap-ins. And look, so I've got Solanke in my team. It's not that I think he's a bad pick. It's just that I think I'd rather have Havertz. If I'm totally honest, I think I'd rather have Havertz, but I won't be going there right now. I just think that he's still a very good pick. Lewis says, isn't Havertz on 6 away games without a goal for Arsenal? Yeah, it might well be. Again, I don't really buy into that. What do we really think about that? What does that?
It's a small sample size, and you go, yeah, he's been scoring at home, not away, but that's a very small sample size. I think Havertz, the way he's playing. I also just look at the way Bournemouth attack against good teams. Like the one sample we've got of Bournemouth facing a top team at home this season was the Chelsea game. And that was so end-to-end. Chelsea were really lucky to get something from that game. I think Bournemouth was a better team. I think
Bournemouth do have a terrible record against the top sides. Their record against the top sides is terrible. Yeah, it's very bad. It's terrible.
They go toe to toe with them. They try and outplay better footballing teams than them. Yeah.
Yeah, the top sides almost inevitably end up beating them more often than not. So I'm expecting a comfortable Arsenal win personally. So I mean, Havertz is fine, but it's just from a long-term perspective, I was favoring Solanke.
Yeah. Look, I'm glad because I've got Solanke and I don't plan to get rid of him. So I'm glad that you're saying that. Lewis says that Havertz probably plays a bit deeper away from home. Yeah, maybe possibly.
There has been a tweet, Dean, about Arsenal. Sorry to interrupt you. White, it's just flashed up. Yeah. White, Timber, Tomiyasu. Oh, hang on, that was yesterday. Sorry, it's been retweeted. So I thought it was recent.
Right, yeah.
White, Timber, Tomiyasu, Zinchenko, Martinez, Saka, and Havertz all not pictured in training, and Arteta has been quoted on both of them. Yes, that was yesterday. I mean, there has been a picture of Gabriel and Saliba in the gym, and someone is suggesting Saka's calf is in shot because there's someone's calf that's wearing New Balance trainers. But there's no indication.
And people expect that it's him.
Calf. Yeah, like it's literally a calf, like no more than a calf.
What are we coming to? What's happened to the world?
There's also been Lee Judges. Is it Lee Judges? From AFTV. Yeah. He's been recorded in a 30-second stint. He's absolutely guessing, trying to look like I think the big I am, being like, oh, it might be an ITK. I might, but I think he's completely punting. He's been right, but he's been wrong in the past. I've worked with AFTV and I've also sent a message to see if there's anything to that. I think if there is, I think we'll know about it.
No, mate, I don't believe that. I saw the clip and I was like,
did you see the clip? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not convinced.
Yeah, I saw it as well. Yeah, but I mean, I don't trust him as such, but the thing is, I don't trust Arteta either. So I'm waiting for some kind of confirmation that we might get. I was mentioning to Gianni the other day in the previous podcast that in the same fixture last time, we got a leak from the hotel when Arsenal playing Bournemouth, and Saka was a doubt at that point as well. So I'm hoping some FPL manager would care to go to the hotel again and do the honors for us.
So if we see he's travelled, do we straight away go? Hello to everyone, by the way, who's raiding us from the Holly Shand YouTube show. She's been streaming, such a legend, for almost 5.5 hours from 9 a.m. UK time this morning.
Well done, Holly. That is insane.
She's joined us in the chat. She's actually stayed 18 minutes longer than she was going to, just to hear about Aston Villa.
If Konza's fit.
To know if Konza's fit. Like, she hasn't even got Konza in her team. So that is the dedication she's raised. I mean, when I last checked, it was over £800 for cancer research.
Holly, that is so impressive. Like, well done. For the money and for the time, like to sit there on your own for over 5 hours. I mean, 1 hour is difficult when I've done that. So to do 5 hours, fair play to you. Well done. And thanks for bringing a load of viewers with you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All these newbies that maybe haven't watched before as well. Hello to everyone like Vegan Real. We're not going to spam you, but we hope in the next 10, 20, 30 minutes, we do enough on this channel to do what you've done with Holly, and that is subscribe. If you fancy hitting that subscribe button because you like what you see today, then please do. And thank you guys for the love with the likes as well. With gift aid over £1,000, over £1,000. That is great. Amazing.
It is.
So cool. So, okay, our take on Saka and Havertz, that's the big headline. Arteta's been coy. Holly's also 10 subs off of 36k. There will be loads of people watching that haven't watched Holly. Just check her out in the chat. You can click on her name and it will take you to her page. And you can hit that subscribe button. If 10 of you subscribe to Holly right now to get her to 36k, that would be amazing. I think we could do that, Holly. I reckon there's 10 good eggs in the chat that will hit that button for you.
Yeah, do you know what? I might be one of them because I don't think I watch Holly's, but I don't actually think I subscribe. I'm going to check right now. Holly, sorry I didn't already, but at least you're about to get someone else. There you go. I actually subscribed. There you go.
Come on, Holly. Update us, Holly, if you get there. Big man, your take on Saka, Havertz. If we see them pictured, i.e. travelled, do you go, they're probably going to start then? Is that how you would consider fit enough to start if they've travelled?
Yeah, I think it's as simple as that. That's the way I would look at it.
We'll see something, won't we? Like, because you said last year we did. Dean,
I think a lineup league is unlikely. I think a lineup league is unlikely. We're not going to hear a lineup league, surely.
No,
that doesn't necessarily happen with Arsenal. Besides, it's a late fixture as well, so it's not an early fixture.
It's 5:30 kickoff, isn't it? So
5:30 kickoff, exactly. So
yeah, I mean there are a couple of good Arsenal accounts Team news and tickets is a good one for Arsenal team news. And there's another one called The Hand of Ozil, who has been pretty good recently. So,
really?
What's
the Twitter handle?
Hand of Ozil and Team News and Tickets are both been very good with Arsenal news across not just this season, but before that. So those two will be places to keep an eye on. I think Team News and Tickets might have started to do like a subscription-based thing. I think he might have, because he was getting such good info. So I think he's capitalizing on that at the moment. But whatever he puts out, obviously on his subscription will get leaked anyway. So just keep an eye on that. Yeah, Lewis has just put the handle into the chat. So keep an eye on that one for your Arsenal news, because he is on the ball and usually is pretty early with his steers as well. So that is pretty good. Should we talk about something other than Arsenal now? Should we move on?
Yeah, let's. And we've done Spurs as well. Do you know what? We've got to get through our three teams. We've got to do against the obvious. I think that was it. I think they're the two things. There might be something else. Oh, we've got some differentials. Let's start with those differentials, shall we? And just have a quick look at some players that maybe have caught the eye. And then we're going to see our teams, guys. We're going to speak about them in detail. But first, I just wanted to turn our attention to 5 players that I wrote about earlier this week that are under 10% owned. And these guys are, you got the Madueke's just below 10%, but you got Dibbling at 3, Milenkovic 0.5. The first 4 are midfielders. If we're ranking these 4, I don't know if we can fairly rank them, but is there any player in here we actually don't think is a good buy this week? Do we think all 5 of these are good buys, or do we look at the likes of Madueke and just go transfer out waiting to happen? Big man, I'll come to you first.
Buy the cheaper assets. I think Foden and Johnson are fine to buy, but the other 3 I won't necessarily buy this week.
Big man, we missed the start of that. Which ones don't you like?
The cheaper 3. Because I don't think Dibbling is a. I mean, Dibbling is fine, but I mean, he's not exactly a player I'd want to transfer in. Madueke, similarly, X-Men's concern. Foden is fine, I guess, and so is Brennan.
Yeah, okay. We'll change the graphic on screen, by the way, so we can see those differentials. For me, it's shown as my team. I think there might be a slight...
it's showing on your team. This is a team of differentials.
I am buying Dibbling, I think.
I think Dibbling, mate, is a really good pick especially for this game week. I mean, if Southampton are going to do anything, it has to be this week. You've got a manager who's fighting to save his job. You've got, that is their best player, their most dangerous player. He's so cheap. I want to go back to when I was playing around, if I was to put together a wild card right now, he'd 100% be in it. And this week he would be starting. And then he could just go back to being a sub. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. So, you would just you could even put him for the next home game because it's Everton at home.
That's why I'm picking him. It's those homes, because the home game he got 11 points in this season was at home to Ipswich. When he's got a good home fixture, I think he's got a chance of a haul. Yep. In every other fixture, I think it's a 1.2 point performance. And we've seen that, and that's fine because he's going to be on your bench. But for the good home games where Southampton go up against a Leicester team that are like a championship team or an Everton team struggling, I think you bank Southampton to score. And if they're going to score, it's going to be this man involved.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, look, even Madueke, if it wasn't for Liverpool away, I'd be really tempted by him. I think that I was speaking to someone this week and I wrote an article about him for Give Me Sport. They are so impressed with Madueke. He's the player that has surprised Maresca the most. There was a decent chance at one point in the summer that he was going to be joining Newcastle. They were looking at him and they thought it was plausible they'd get him. And I think Madueke was kind of I don't want to leave right now. And he's really knuckled down. They're the professionalism he's shown has been great. But to find the form and consistency to keep out the likes of Neto and Joao Felix and whoever else, Mudryk, all these players that are vying for a role in that attacking third has been really impressive. I was looking at the minutes as well that you're getting out of Chelsea attackers this season. Only Cole Palmer has played more minutes in terms of Chelsea attackers than Madueke so far. He's even got more minutes than Nicholas Jackson on board. So
wow,
I think that's a sign of the trust that Maresca has in him right now. And as I say, Liverpool away, obviously not a great fixture to be picking him this weekend. But beyond that, even for Newcastle, Man United coming up, I wouldn't really be that put off of signing him. So that's quite interesting. What is your feeling on Phil Foden? Because typically he's going to do well at some point in the season. People are trying to get ahead of the game and catch those first points that he ends up grabbing. And Wolves away does seem like a fixture where it could all start to come together.
I think I'm doing it.
Oh, yeah.
I said on my team selection video yesterday, I was 25% likely to make the move from Diaz to Foden. I'm in it to win it. Like Wolves just have to chase the upside there.
Yeah.
If you're going to own a Man City attacker, don't wait to Southampton at home when Wolves away is round the corner. Because look, I might sell him off to Southampton at home. Who knows? I might then jump to a Son or a whoever. But for those 2 weeks, the De Bruyne info was the one that's changed it for me with Foden. Hearing that De Bruyne, one, wasn't pictured in training, and two, Pepper said he's not ready or unlikely to be available. Like, he's clearly not ready.
Yeah,
we're going to get Foden playing number 10 against Wolves. And if he blanks, he blanks. But then I'm at least ahead. If he blanks, there's, in a way, I quite like him blanking against Wolves because it means no one will own him for Southampton at home.
True.
And I think he bangs versus Southampton at home. So I think I get returns regardless. If he does bang against Wolves, great, I get some points early. But then I get the same points as everyone else against Southampton. Big man, your take there?
I mean, I'm still not fully convinced of his minutes going forward because Pep can be random with Foden and his minutes. He hasn't really hit the heights of last season. But then again, if you're jumping on him early, you will be the first to his points because not a lot of people will buy him. Even if Saka is unavailable, I expect most of the people looking to buy, let's say, Palmer or Son as the replacements as opposed to Foden. So I don't think he'll be a popular replacement, but he's not someone I would say he's a perfectly fine fit with a certain degree of upside, but he's not one for me. But if someone is a maverick manager or is more, let's say, more of a risk taker than I am, then Foden is perfectly fine.
Big man, your former podcast partner I've not spoken to him this week, but someone tagged me in a tweet saying, "Oh, you always do. You and Late Riser always think the same." And I know he owns Havertz, Late Riser, and I'm guessing. I think I responded being like, almost certainly he won't be selling Havertz for Solanke, same as me, and almost certainly he'll be looking at Foden this week. I haven't spoken to him. I was meant to DM him earlier. Do you know what Late Riser's plans are with Foden? Have you spoken to him this week? Because I assume he's shopping
I have no idea, but generally
as me.
But he's a huge Foden fan.
Yeah. Oh no. I think it has gone, isn't it?
I think so, mate. I think this time.
Is it?
No, we've lost him for a second. But we got the gist of it. Well, big man rebuffers. I'll just talk about Brennan Johnson for 1 second. We can't ignore the fact he's got 6 and 6 for Spurs. He's gone into the international break. He scored during that as well. 7 and 7 for Brennan Johnson. You know, if there's so many other players in the game where if this was the sort of form they were on, you would be like an idiot not to pick them. But Brennan Johnson just has this thing where it's like, we're just assuming every single week that's the end of it. That's the end of it. That's the end of it.
He could just be good.
It might just turn out that he's the new Gareth Bale. Like Gareth Bale did nothing for a while and then suddenly turned into one of the best players in the world. Maybe Brennan Johnson's the new Gareth Bale, and like, this is actually something we should pay attention to. You know, they signed him for a reason. They knew he had a high ceiling, and maybe we are starting to see that now. He does find good spaces on that flank. It is tempting. What would you do in my position where I'm tempted to chop Eze for Johnson? Would you do it knowing that means you've got 3 Spurs players and they're all playing in that first game of the weekend?
Oh, let's see your team, Dean. Go on, big man. You answer that and we'll load Dean's team.
Yeah, load up my team.
Yeah.
Go on, big man. What do you reckon? Would you make that? Oh no, he's gone again. We might have to ask our producer to send a message to Big Man.
He might have to reset, that, or he hasn't paid his Wi-Fi this month.
So, I mean, you've got more. Yeah, it gives you money in the bank. How much is Brennan? Is he 6.6? So it gives you 0.2. So the 0.2 is neither here nor there.
Yeah, it doesn't make.
I guess the big question for you is, if you don't make the move, is there a midfielder up there you would like to move up to, and therefore with 2 free transfers next week, you sell Eze? for a Mbeumo or a Foden or whoever. Is there a second part of this that needs consideration? Or
yeah, I mean, I definitely want Mbeumo, and I've got I hate that I haven't got him, but I've also got a wild card that I'm going to be using at some point soon. I don't have a plan for the wild card anymore. Like, it's just completely out the window. I half expected to be using it this week in the assumption that 2 or 3 players would have picked up injuries and stuff. But beyond Saka, there's not really enough problem in this team to actually worry about that.
Is Salah staying for you then? It's long term. Do you see? Just looking at Salah's fixtures. Obviously,
mate, Chelsea haven't got a left back. People are looking at Liverpool. This, Salah particularly. I still think enough of the players going through Salah anyway. I'm not saying he's like prime Salah right now, but knowing that Cucurella's not playing for Chelsea this weekend,
and we're rubbish at the back anyway.
They're not good at the back anyway. Fofana's not playing either, so Chelsea are going to give up chances. Who do you think is going to play left back for Chelsea?
You could see Cole play it, and then but Cole's been our best centre back.
This is the thing.
Under the new manager, we haven't seen Cole left back. Like, we all think of it and go, "Oh, Cole can play left back. He did loads last year." Well, yeah, that Pochettino liked him there. Maresca doesn't, so it's not a straight shootout. I can't remember his name. Who's the Portuguese guy?
Vega.
Vega. I think Vega will probably end up playing.
I think Vega might end up playing there. And look, he's. I like Vega, but the time
he's good when he's played there in Europe, but against weak opposition.
Yeah, and I've seen him have. There was one game in midfield recently where he ended up actually having a good game, but he took 10, 15 minutes to settle, and knowing that if he does start, Liverpool will be targeting him, right? Yeah. That's quite a big challenge for him. Liverpool so if Vega plays left back, then I'm pretty confident in having Salah exploiting him on that side. So
yeah, Salah's a good pick.
I'm quite happy to stick with Salah for this one. Obviously, as well, knowing that Chelsea are a calamity at the back, there's a high chance of a pen for Liverpool. So I'm happy with him. But yeah, Eze, I'm just not happy with him, to be honest. But then anyone that I've really picked for this other midfield spot, I haven't really been happy with. At GW8, he did all right for a bit, scored a goal, and then I got rid of him. I can't remember who I brought in after that, but they didn't do well. Then I brought in Eze. He hasn't done anything. So it's a pretty tricky role to fill. And Brennan Johnson, I'm obviously just going on that form of 6 in 6 for Spurs. But also, do I trust that it continues? Do I want triple Spurs? Not really. It's a shame that I can't get to I'd go for a West Ham midfielder if I had anyone that I really trusted, but there's not really.
What do you reckon, big man? What would you do if you were Dean? I think I would roll.
I was saying,
yeah,
I think I would roll probably as well. I mean, if Saka's fit, then I think this team looks perfectly fine. I definitely won't sell Eze. I still like Eze as a pick. In fact, we were discussing a wildcard team the other day, and I had Eze and Bruno in the wildcard draft. So then again, it comes down to the point that you mentioned that there aren't exactly better alternatives at that price range, in my personal opinion, because there's a good chance you might want Son, let's say by game week 11 when Spurs are playing Ipswich. That's actually a potential captaincy fixture for Spurs. And if you buy Brennan, then you might be locked out of doing that. So I think Eze is fine to keep. I actually think he'll do well in the weeks to come. Even though this week it's not exactly an amazing fixture, but he just seems like a steady Eddie kind of guy, and I don't really mind owning him. The underlying is still fine.
Yeah, maybe it gives me a reason to pay some attention to that Forest Palace game that otherwise I probably wouldn't watch. So, it's a game on a Monday night that I would be inclined to just catch up on the extended highlights rather than watch live. But yeah, maybe it'll also give me some interest in that fixture. Could save my game week at that point as well, or at least give me some hope.
FPL Chai is buying, as they says, Ice G. Yeah, like we spoke about that.
I like it.
Yeah,
I think for people looking to sign, I think if people are looking to sell, let's say Luis Diaz, I think Eze is a very good replacement.
Is Luis Diaz a sell this week, guys? What do we think on that? Like, what's your take there, big man, on Luis Diaz? Because he should start. We're not going to get a leak. They play Sunday. Gakpo's been playing well, but you'd think Diaz starts, and Chelsea is a good attacking fixture for Liverpool. But still, many, myself included, are probably selling him.
Are you sure he starts though? That's the issue. I am not
No.
confident. I mean, I genuinely think that Gakpo's played well enough to be a genuine threat to his position. That's the issue.
Yeah, I think I'm probably 70% likely, but yeah, far from nailed. He's probably in a similar boat to Saka or Havertz in terms of I think he'll start, but there's no banker. What
I'm
percentage
more
would you put on the
confident
Diaz
Saka and Havertz
start?
personally.
Would
I'm
you put
personally more
what?
confident as Saka and Havertz. 50-50, I think.
Really, you think it's Dean 50-50 on Diaz Gakpo or more confident on Diaz?
I'm probably a little more confident on Diaz starting, but like not wholly, not convinced at all, to be honest. Like I'd give him the edge. But yeah, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later on in about 20 minutes time. So I'll dig into it a little bit more then.
You know, the issue is the issue is that firstly, Liverpool are playing on Sunday. We won't get any league. And one of the reasons why a lot of people picked Luis Diaz on a Game Week 6 wildcard was because the Game Week 6 and 7 fixtures were on a Saturday, which is why we were going to get leaks, and he was like a safe player to pick. But that's not the case anymore. In Game Week 9, they're also playing on Sunday again, and that fixture against Arsenal. And it's not even that, Liverpool have prime fixtures anyway. They have like Chelsea this week, then they have Arsenal next week. You might easily end up in a position where he doesn't end up playing this week, and you might be then selling next week. So might as well sell him right now is my logic.
I'm definitely going to sell him next week. You make a good point. So why not sell him this week? And if he does start, he's getting 70. Go on, Dean.
Just going to say, Scott says, talking differentials, I sold red flag Pedro for Højlund at that price point, and with United's fixture run, it seems good to me as a 7th, 8th attacker. United's such a tricky one, isn't it? To go in on right now. We don't know what we're going to get, and I have to admit, I'm not convinced they even beat Brentford. I'm really not convinced. Like, there's so much narrative around this fixture, given that Ten Hag's survived again, another review, and he's going up against a manager who is under consideration as one of the bosses that they would potentially go for if they do sack Ten Hag. And honestly, who do you trust more, Thomas Frank or Ten Hag? It's got to be Thomas Frank.
100%. 100%. That's not even close, is it?
It's not close. So I just don't know what we get from Man United in this fixture at all. And we know exactly what we get from Brentford. We know that Mbeumo is going to score in this game. It's so... can we trust United to score? I don't think we can. Højlund, look, I really, really like Højlund, but I just don't trust Man United's attack at the moment at all.
Yeah. I don't even know if I trust his minutes.
No, I mean, it's tricky.
It's not like a Bruno where you go, at least I'm getting 90.
This is one of the problems that Ten Hag's got. I was speaking to somebody who gives me some information about United and just like a steer on what the problems are. And one of the issues with Erik Ten Hag is that his team selections have been so inconsistent and that there's no conviction around him actually knowing what he's building towards as his strongest lineup. And it really should be that Højlund is his number 9. It should be that Ugarte is his DM. It should be that Garnacho has a starting position, probably on the left. But there's all these different things. And what happens? Ten Hag's like, oh no, I really like Christian Eriksen all of a sudden. He's going to play every single minute for me. Everyone's like, what? He's like, oh, actually, I'm going to play Johnny Evans and Maguire as my centre-back pairing. Everyone's like, but you just signed Matthias de Ligt. Like, it just doesn't make any sense in terms of the consistency. And that's one of the things that he's got to correct between now and the international break.
Yeah, nice. Dean, we've seen your team. Let's move on to... I don't think there's any other questions for your team, is there? It's either Eze out and there's nothing. There's no. Yeah, we've covered it.
No,
Captaincy set, subset.
Honestly, I think I'm looking at a 50-point week. If I'm totally honest, I'm not like wholly optimistic of it being.
I think the team looks good. I mean, who exactly are you missing in the team?
Maybe I think I might have been looking at it too much over the last 2 weeks.
That's the problem.
I think that might be part of the problem.
I mean, when I look at that team, I think it's perfectly fine. I don't think you're missing any player that you'd be scared of. I mean, you have Haaland, you have Salah, you have the Spurs guys as well. Solanke's there.
Yeah,
so you have some kind of coverage from everywhere.
Thanks, big man. It's like a counselling session. I appreciate that.
And Dean, you are the best in terms of rank so far between the three of us.
Now, yeah, you two are probably slowly catching me up.
He's smashing us.
Yeah.
For now.
I've got 3 free transfers. I think the same as Big Man. I've got a bit of money in the bank. I've got money to go Luis Diaz to. Has Diaz dropped him? Let me just check Diaz's price drop. I'm just slightly worried that I've not got. When did Diaz drop in price? I've got 0.2 buffer, but my long-term plan, I've got exact funds. So
he's 8 million, Luis Diaz.
Is he 8?
Yeah.
Oh, good. He's not 7.9.
No, he's 8. Yeah.
Okay, phew. That's panicked me there because I've got exact funds for the next 4 moves, and I was like 7.9. Okay, good. I think Foden in for Diaz. I've created the money by making a move that I was going to make anyway. I'm really content with the move of Semenyo to Dibbling because even if that's not with immediate rewards, and Semenyo is a better option than Dibbling, of course he is. But that million, whether I need it for this move or another move in 3 weeks' time, in a world where we're looking to get Cole Palmer in our teams, where in game week 12 we're going to want triple Arsenal again, where Haaland's not going anywhere, and for me I've got Trent and I don't want to sell Trent, that million is going to be needed. And knowing it's going to be on the bench most of the time anyway, Semenyo's gone, Dibbling's in. I'm going to make that move. And if I make that move, it gives me enough money to go Diaz to Foden. I've then got the money, the exact funds, if I want to, Saka to Palmer next week and Havertz to Solanke next week. I could make Havertz to Solanke this week, and Solanke is due a price rise. So maybe for exact funds, I do that. What I definitely want is a free move next week with the opportunity to go Saka to Palmer. And if I make those 3 moves I've just spoken about, other than the Palmer move, I can make the Saka to Palmer switch next week. Big Man, what do you think? What's your take there?
Are you comfortable holding Havertz though? Is my point next week, because your plans include Havertz in the team, even with the tough fixtures.
No, my plan next week to get Palmer in for Saka would require Havertz to Solanke. So I could make that switch this week. But like we said earlier, I think the bookies have got that one wrong. I actually like Havertz. I'd only sell Havertz if I didn't think he was going to start. So, yeah, I think the moves I very likely make this week are probably 2. I think I go Diaz to Foden, and I think I go Semenyo to Dibbling, with a potential third of Havertz to Solanke.
That's fair. I mean, that's the way you've been thinking across the week. So I mean, I can't necessarily fault it because the next 2 moves are great as well, right? That they allow.
Yeah, I've been thinking of these moves for the last 2 weeks. Like when the international break first hit and I did my early thoughts video, I remember thinking that was an option. And my other option of how I can get Palmer in was to keep a Havertz long term through the tougher fixtures, who I certainly don't mind him. But it was going, okay, is Trent your make weight? And if I wildcarded, like you showed us on Wednesday, Big Man, and I mentioned on Wednesday, Trent wouldn't be in my wildcard team. But do I want to sell him in my actual team? I don't think I can.
No way.
Don't think I can, because you can go Trent to Nori and then Diaz to Palmer.
Yeah. I mean, if I had this team personally, I would have sold. Diaz, I think. And that would have been the only
Brennan
move.
or
and Havertz for Solanke. Havertz for Solanke as well. I would have sold Havertz for Solanke and Diaz for Ezio Bruno. Like legit. That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
I don't think Son is affordable, is he? Not from Diaz.
I've got 0.5 in the bank, and Havertz to Solanke gets me. No, I think I'd still be short.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? If Son was affordable, then that would have been an amazing move, but I suspected that wouldn't have been the case.
Yeah, no, and then that doesn't give me the Palmer out from Saka to Palmer. Dean, what do you reckon?
I mean, I think Havertz is fine. I would be sticking with what you got for now. Luis Diaz. It's a really tough call. The thing is, it's basic. It's all or nothing with Diaz this season. Like quite literally, you either get double digits or you're on the floor and you get nothing. So he's one of those players where you kind of got to ride it out. You can't pick and choose when you're going to have the successes. The points are just going to come as they come. And the one thing when he does play, because teams pay so much attention to Mo Salah, you do get extra time on that side of the pitch, a bit of extra space, and that's why he has had some joy. So it depends, mate. Like you either keep him for like 2 or 3 weeks, or you might as well get rid of him because you can't just pick and choose when Diaz points come.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going into tomorrow's deadline. By the way, Matt Sells, and a few have asked about him in the chat, he is flagged. Nuno wasn't asked about him in the press conference. What is wrong with journalists? Do they not all play FPL? Like, for God's sake.
There should be like one person in the room at every press conference who just asks 3 FPL questions. They might have to change the way that presses work.
Dean, as a journo that's sat in a ton of Premier League press conferences, when you see the number one goalkeeper at the football club, whether you play FPL or not, pulled out the Belgium squad with an injury, how is he not asked about that? Local press there should be absolutely ashamed.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because every press conference, pretty much, unless there's a major news story, will begin just to ease yourself into the presser. Say, what's the team news? Like, what we're looking at? How's so and so? It's just an easy way to get the presser going and to lightly start conversation. And it's, the manager's always expecting it. So it's very strange. I mean, is there nothing even on Forest website? Because, even from a Forest website perspective, you'd expect that like there would be some sort of update.
I think he was asked about any new injury problems, and he mentions one or two and doesn't mention Sells.
You can't just ask.
I need a direct question.
Yeah, you can't ask it vaguely, because he's just not really gonna, in his head, go through every single issue that he's been contending with, is he? Like, you need to ask a few specifics.
Yeah, especially around your number one. Like, it's a big thing. Like, Forest number 2 is Miguel, who's played like 30 times in his career, first choice. Yeah.
And Gianni, I guess you're confident keeping Sells because he was spotted in training, right? That's giving you the confidence to keep him.
Yeah, in the background of a training picture, you see the side of someone's head that looks like Sells. So
I've just seen that. Yeah.
I think that is enough for me to go on. And you'd think,
and it's a Monday night fixture as well, extra days of recovery.
Yeah, good point.
So yeah, should be fine till then.
Should be fine. And do you know what? His fixtures are so good in 9 and 10 anyway. I'd be tempted even if we knew he wasn't spotted in training and was 50-50, I'd be like, I don't know if I want to use a transfer. I'll take the 0 points and then have him for Leicester and West Ham. I think Sells is the best 4.5 short term. And my plan still, as mentioned in the chat, is my plan still, says FPL James, to go to Raya. It is game week 12. So that is still, on my radar. So I think that's what I'm doing. I'm going to do a deadline stream tomorrow morning where I'll figure out exactly what I want to do. If I want to do the 4 moves spoken about, where I've got the exact funds, that does require Havertz to Solanke, who is due a price rise tonight. Whether or not, but then the predictors thought Solanke would rise last night, he didn't. So maybe I have to just chance my hand there and stick. I really want Havertz, but again, if we don't see him travelling, and we probably won't see those photos till tomorrow, I'm probably not going to make any moves until tomorrow morning. But it could be 1 of just dibbling in, could be 2 dibbling and Foden, or it could be 3 dibbling Foden and Solanke. But Palmer's definitely one for next week. I want Saka this week. I think Saka for Bournemouth is good. And the entry point for Palmer's not strong enough for me to go Saka Palmer a week early. Let's move on then to Big Man's team. And then we're going to do against the obvious guys. That's a whole load of fun. Dean, just give us a refresh of what channel membership means, because a couple of people today have signed up as channel members. Sorry, guys, we haven't been able to speak about you, but I have seen you flash up.
Yeah, we've had Scott sign up. We've had John sign up today. I've just seen one of them crop up in the WhatsApp, actually. So,
already? Christ.
He's done it during the show. He's already in there chatting. So, nice one. Who was it that signed up? It was Scott that signed up to the WhatsApp already. He's straight in there. So, go to the Chasing Green Arrows homepage on YouTube. You'll find the link. There's 2 tiers of membership. One gives you extra content, videos, and just supports us in the channel. And the other one will allow you access to the WhatsApp, which is a 24/7 chat. Quite literally, like we've got people all over the world, so the chat never stops. There's always somebody there to talk to you. Like this morning, I woke up and it was like 4:30 here in America, and I was like, this is a really awkward time to wake up because I've got the show in an hour and a half. I like to wake up at least half an hour before that. Otherwise, I'm going to look really bleary-eyed on here, and that ain't a great look. I need time to put my makeup on and all of that sort of stuff. So I was like, oh my God, I'll just start looking at some FPL stuff. I was like, I can chat to some of the people in it. And there was a few that were jumping straight on it. And that's the same whether wherever you live in the world, there's always somebody that will be awake to chat to you. So honestly, I do encourage you all that if you do love your FPL chat, to take it up a level and come and join us in the Chasing Green Arrows WhatsApp group. It's not too much of a financial burden, hopefully, and it does support us. Yes, mate.
Yeah, I forgot to ask you when looking at your team.
Yeah.
Me and Johnny have wildcard, and so have a lot of people. You still haven't. So what is the wildcard plan?
I said to G, you might have been before you came, but I don't have a plan anymore, mate. I haven't even. I'm just going to be reactive with it and just get to a point where I spot an opportunity or have an injury crisis and go for it. The fact there's another international break coming up makes me think I'd quite like to get through till after that one and then use
Game week 12 is actually, it's in game week 12, and it's actually a good time to wildcard because there are a few fixture swings that will occur. I mean, that's a week where I think Liverpool are playing Southampton, if I'm not mistaken. There will be shifts in the fixture, so you can look at game week 12 as a window. I personally really like this window for wildcarding, but your team is actually good enough. I mean,
there's not enough changes.
It's not exactly a team.
Yeah, I would probably only really make 3 proper changes if I was to wildcard right now, which doesn't really seem worthwhile. Whereas if I do wait until, say, game week 12, it means I've come through stress-free from another international break because anything that has happened I can address. Also gives me that kind of 6-week. Goes game week 12 to game week 20 is when we can get our next chip right for the second half of the year. So it gives me that run through of 7 game weeks when everyone's going to be thinking, oh, what shall I do through the Christmas period? What do I do through December when there's loads of games? I can kind of reset at that point. So I think I'm better off just keeping it up my sleeve for now. Try to get to game week 12 if I can. If I can't, then I'll use it. But that's the loose plan.
Nice. I like that.
Makes sense.
I think that's the obvious fixture swing as well. Yeah. And I like the fact you can be fairly reactive this season, Dean, and you've got off to such a flyer, you don't need to.
Yeah, but I'm definitely on the wane. That's what's scaring me right now. I'm like, there's the temptation now. When you start getting the 40 to 50 point weeks, 2 or 3 weeks in a row, you're like, this is a bit boring. I'm losing my rank.
Yeah, the red arrows are never fun. Guys, against the obvious is only a couple of minutes away. Before we get there, Big Man has 3 free transfers, no money in the bank. Do you think you'll make a move this week, mate? We spoke about your team at length on Wednesday, but for those that didn't see, do you think you're set, or do you think it's likely you make one move?
I guess it depends on what we hear on Saka. I really want to save the transfer. I currently have 3 free transfers. I'll be in a position where I can get to 4 next week, which would be ideal. But if Saka is not starting, or if he's rumored not to have traveled, then I think I'll probably sell for Son. And the other decision that I had to make was Rodgers versus Saliba in this team. We had a poll regarding this on who to start, who to bench, and it was literally a 50-50 in the previous episode. I think I'm leaning towards Rodgers just about because he's an attacker and he's more exciting to back as opposed to Saliba. It might change because it's literally a coin flip, but these are the 2 main decisions. And apart from that, I'm fairly comfortable with the rest of my team.
Yeah, I think it was 52-48. I think said start Rodgers.
Exactly.
I think. Dean, would you start Rodgers or Saliba? No, he's already got Gabriel.
Probably Saliba, to be honest.
You're in the 48. It's such a coin toss.
I really, Rodgers isn't impressing me. Like as a footballer, he really impresses me. In FPL, he's a good price point, but as a starter every single week, I'm starting to have a few issues with him. Fulham's obviously I don't know which way this Fulham fixture goes. Fulham were good at home. Tactically, Marco Silva is very smart. This is going to be a tight game. I'm not saying Aston Villa can't win it, because they definitely can. But there's only, in my opinion, going to be a 1-goal swing in this game, one way or the other. Don't know that I expect a lot of Rodgers in terms of a haul. The one at Calvert-Lewin is the one I'm starting to think would I rather just have John Duran? He could come on for 20 minutes and get me a goal every week. He's only 6.2 and I've got Calvert-Lewin at 6. So
he's been your boy, mate. Calvert-Lewin. Look at those fixtures. Ipswich, Fulham, Southampton.
I mean, this is obviously a good spell of games for him, but I think John Duran at 6.2 and knowing the impact that he's made, he's still a really, really good player to have, even though he doesn't get a lot of game time. He's just so consistent, and that ain't going to... This output, I don't think, is going to change for him.
Yeah, I get that.
That might be something I look for on a wildcard, to be honest.
Yeah, and by then you might get a little bit more of a steered, like, have we seen him and Watkins together or whatever?
Yeah.
Big man, last question before we do against the obvious. Saka out. Let's say he is out and you are forced to sell him, or we don't think he'll start. Where do you move? Brennan?
Son, for sure.
Oh, Son, of course. Yeah, of course. You said that on Wednesday.
For sure.
Yeah. And Son, by the way, been pictured in training. By all accounts, he's good to go. We're not going to discuss Bruno anymore, but we have got a poll running. Do let us know your take. Should big man sell Bruno? I'm absolutely flabbergasted. 25% of you actually think you should keep him. Let's move on to against the obvious. Keep voting, guys. Here we go. So this is where we pick a player and we give you 60 seconds worth of reasons why he's actually a bad pick this week. So we pick 3 obvious players. Dean, did you go Diaz? Or did I? You did. Go.
I did, yeah. I did. So start the clock, producer, whenever you're ready. Luis Diaz is obviously still one of the better players in this game, but at the moment, I would be slightly concerned about how many minutes you're actually going to get from him. It's not a great fixture. It just had 2 run-outs of 70-plus minutes on international duty over the other side of the world. Doesn't mean he doesn't start this game, but it does mean that he's probably not going to make the 70-minute mark of this encounter. His form in terms of output in FPL is up and down. As I say, he either gets into double digits or he gets 2 points. And the form of Gakpo makes me seriously consider whether he does actually start this game. I think Cody Gakpo is knocking on the door for a start. I think he's more than capable of starting against Chelsea. And I think that Salah is the best outlet for this particular match because Chelsea are playing without Cucurella, and that's going to be their biggest weakness. So I think for this week, I would be happy to go without Diaz.
Oh, there we go. Someone I might be selling. Someone big man doesn't own. So yeah, I like that. Let's move on to our next player. It's either been one from me or from big man. Let us know your takes in the chat. Players you think that are highly rated, highly owned, but are not worth buying this week. I think this one's for you, big man. There's no way I'd have said Cole Palmer.
Yeah, this is mine.
Right.
Again, I mean, this is a bit... Start the clock, please. And it started. Yeah, I mean, Palmer is, of course, I mean, he's been killing my rank every week. He's very highly owned. But I just don't think this is the week to personally buy him because the fixture this week is against Liverpool. Then in game week 11, Chelsea are playing against Arsenal. I personally feel if you don't own Cole Palmer, you probably resist going for him at this point in time and just buy him in game week 12 when Chelsea have a really good run of fixtures. And at that point, you can then focus your transfers on, let's say, selling Saka or Son to Palmer. But for now, let's say even if Saka is ruled out, I have more interest in Son. And if Son was unfit, I would have probably picked Foden instead of going with Palmer, simply because I like the fixtures more. And I'm generally the kind of guy who tends to go with fixtures over form, as you can see with my Bruno Fernandes pick. But yeah, that's going to be my plan. And I think he's a perfectly fine hold for people who have him, but I certainly won't be buying him this week personally.
Yeah, I like that. Look, fair play for big man. He's gone for a 50% owned pick in against the obvious. That is brave, but we're all kind of get you.
Yeah, you're right about the fixture. Obviously, it's just that Cole Palmer just is so scary. He just doesn't care about anything or anyone, does he? He just like strolls.
He doesn't. When you see him in interviews, so nonchalant, isn't he?
He's so.
You must have spoken to people, Dean, that know him and have interviewed him, and I've spoken to a few that have interviewed him, and they're just like, yeah, he's just so chill.
He's so chill, and he's like, if you ask him a question, he'd just be like, "What? What are you talking about? What?" Just doesn't care. Just takes everything in his stride. I saw a player the other day talking about it, and he was like, you would just never think he's a footballer. The way he the way he dresses, his build, the way he holds himself, the way he just wanders around. You'd never think he was an elite footballer. Then you see him on a training pitch, and you're like, what? Insane footballer.
Yeah, and the most intelligent football brain. Because, it'd be fair to say that if you see him in an interview, you might say, oh, okay, he might not be the smartest of guys. On the football pitch, there's no one smarter at the moment in Premier League. Like, he sees things that we could only dream of seeing.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And he's so quick. He's so quick with his brain. Anyway, mine is against the obvious is Son. So someone that is getting a lot of love. Let's start that clock. He might only be 10% owned. Sorry, 4% owned. Wow, I'm shocked by that. But this ownership is going to skyrocket because the fixtures are there for Spurs. I absolutely get that. My big thing about Son is, are the fixtures there for Son? I'm not so sure. There's still a little bit of me that says under Postecoglou, Son wide left just isn't the same threat. Now, sure, we've seen on the other side, Brennan Johnson, he's getting into lots of shooting positions. But what we've seen from Son so far this season is he hasn't been getting into great positions. Yes, he had a big haul game week 2 against Everton. That came from a counter-attack from a Everton set piece and a Pickford error. I owned Son for the first few game weeks of the season. I was so frustrated in game weeks 1 and 3. Sure, this team is going to be built to create chances, but I just feel like if you're going to go Spurs attack, you don't spend 9.8 million when there's a 6.5 million Brennan Johnson, when there's a 7.5 million Dom Solanke. Far, far less riskier, and I think produce similar points to Sonny. So save the money and go elsewhere. There we go.
Yeah,
that's our 3.
Nice. I think it is. It does change the perspective of Tottenham though, having Sonny out there instead of Timo. It's just like it's such a relief for Tottenham fans to know that they're actually going to have someone that can finish these chances. Like Werner's actually, in every other area of his play for Tottenham, has actually been fine. He's even, got in behind. He's got into some good positions, but it has been a trait of his throughout his career that he needs a few chances before he converts one. And I know he had a high goal scoring rate out in the Bundesliga, but he still didn't have a great conversion rate. And you can't afford that at this time for Tottenham in the Premier League. So Sonny coming back in will at least be a bit of relief for Tottenham fans. But yeah, I can understand why not for this week.
Yeah, there we go. There's 400 of you watching in the chat. Thank you, everyone that's been with us for the last hour. Thank you, everyone that's just joined. If you have just joined, like FPL team, hey, Pete, hope you're good. Go back and watch the last hour. It's been a proper good hour. We've done against the obvious as you've just seen, but we've also spoken about 5 good differentials, some 4 good midfielders in there I think you can buy this week. We've spoken about our team. We've spoken about Bruno Fernandes, big man, and big man's moves, possibly if he does sell Saka to Son. We've looked at Dean's team. He might be selling Eze to Brennan Johnson. Excuse me. And we've looked at my team. I'm making probably 2 transfers, possibly 3, possibly 1. Dibling's coming in, probably Foden, possibly Solanke. So loads going on. We'll be back reviewing the game week either on Monday or Tuesday. Me and Big Man will be back on Wednesday, and we'll be back again next Friday. So guys, make sure CGA is on your hit list. Loads of you won't already subscribe, but probably think you are. You watch Chasing Green Arrows regularly. You see it pop up on your YouTube homepage. Just double check if you fancy supporting us by hitting that subscribe button. That'd be so valuable. On the way out, you can hit the like button and comment if you fancy. But as always, thank you to everyone that watches on Catch Up. Thank you to everyone live in the chat. Thank you to our channel members and our mods as well. And thank you to Dean and Big Man. So for now, we'll say our goodbyes. Thanks, and we'll see you next week. Bye, team.